Hi, it's sorry, I haven't got glasses on. 24th of June, and it is.
It's 7:16. Good evening.
And welcome, Mark, to Geeks on Screens with Coffee. And I'm going to press the other button. Look what
And we're up.
You've got what looks like a really old SQL Bits speakeasy mug.
It's well used, yeah. I mean, I drink about 4 or 5 cups of tea a day before like lunchtime, so it's generally this cup or else another cup with a camper van on it. So,
Oh, I see. I see. Very nicely there. Getting the
yeah,
advertising for the other conference.
getting in a little bit of plug, Well, thank you, SQL Bits, for the cup.
Do you know what? I can see inside that cup, and it looks surprisingly clean for a cup that's had a lot of tea in it. Where's the tea stains?
Yeah. Hey, have you heard of dishwashers?
All right. Ours doesn't do that. We don't drink a lot of tea, but we do get. I do get coffee stains in them.
Well, you're meant to in a cup of coffee, right? It's meant to. They're meant to kind of stay a bit. I remember chatting to I don't drink coffee, by the way, but I remember chatting to a coffee guy one time, and he swore by the fact of he didn't want his cup cleaned.
Oh, my mum would was a big tea drinker, or is a big tea drinker, and it used to be in a pot. So she was Irish, so basically tea would come in a pot, and you would never clean the pot. You would swill it out, get rid of the tea bags.
Scald it when you're making the pot.
Yeah. Warm the pot up. Yes. So
and then add it in and work. Yeah, absolutely.
So for people that aren't, go on.
And then of course you'll drink Barry's tea because that's one of my clients. So we'll go Barry's tea.
God, you are. You are. You're worse than Alex Whittles. Get those references in. Nice. Other tea brands are available, but is that a particularly good one, Barry's tea? I've never really heard of it.
Well, you see, in Ireland, basically, it comes down to Barry's versus Limes, okay, which can be also summed up as Dublin versus the rest of the country. Okay, so
Are you familiar with Tato, the chip brand, the crisp brand?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
So my mum worked in the Tato factory.
Oh, brilliant!
And people think no, you're supposed to say potato. No, it's called Tato.
Yeah, it's Tato.
And you can buy. You could only get them in Ireland. So whenever she would go over, she'd bring back a couple of boxes. Now in their local Tesco, in the specialty food aisles, like with the Polish, the whatever food, from Caribbean food, whatever. There's now an Irish section with Tato crisps,
and probably Barry's tea. So go check it out.
Oh, they don't have it in our Tesco's, but I will ask them about it. I don't remember my mum ever going on about Barry's tea. That's very
well. She's up in Dublin, so she was a Limes drinker.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
You can't get people to change their mind round there, can you?
Not at all. But anyway.
So how are you? I mean, you've just come from presenting, haven't you?
Yeah. I just did a session over in New York, New Jersey, somewhere. Which is it's this wonderful online existence of great. I'll just do a session over there. So it was a lunchtime session for them, early evening for me. It was nice. It was one I hadn't done in a while actually, so I had the whole kind of rustiness a little bit kind of coming into it. Sometimes you're doing a session and you're on a run. You've done it one week, another week, and you're tuned up and you're ready and the questions. This one had actually been a while, and it was like, what do I say here again? Oh yes, now I remember. So it was good. It wasn't my greatest session. I wasn't on fire for it.
But it's a lunchtime session, so they probably don't need anyone that's massively, it's gentle lunchtime session. You don't need it to be too, you don't want your mind blown at lunchtime. Otherwise you go back to work and you wouldn't do any work, would you? So.
Yeah, and you could hear there was a couple of sandwiches being eaten in the background and stuff like that. So there was definitely people kind of tuning in a little bit, I think, in there, right? But all good. So it was good to have the session. I tried to get one done a month. I kind of feel for me, it's an okay fit to kind of go do one session online somewhere a month, be that in the local user group or, one of the many online events at the moment. When we go back to in person, I'll have to revisit then to see how that works out, right? Whether that's one a month traveling somewhere or whether there'll still be online stuff, So, but yeah, I try to get in once a month. It's good. It's a good way of learning technology, right? Because, you got to learn it if you're going to start talking about it.
So what were you talking on? Just out of interest.
This one was stream analytics, so event hubs and stream analytics, so streams.
So
yeah,
that actually is applicable to everybody. I mean, that's really
yeah,
useful.
yeah. It is. It's one of those kind of interesting texts that the thing is, and this is, they go on about imposter syndrome, which is generally not something I kind of tend to suffer from. But on this event, on that talk, I always have it in the back of my mind, all right? Because I've set up stream analytics in proof of concepts for customers, okay? But I don't have one out there, you know what I mean? I don't have a solution out there that I put into production and stood over and supported and sweated about a little bit. So I always kind of feel when I'm getting given the session, it's like, yeah, I know all the bits and pieces and how it all works in there, but hand over heart, the whole, yeah, I've got this in production. I just feel I can't quite say that, So and it's one of those ones that any of the proof of concepts I've done on it wasn't the technology was the problem. It did exactly what it was meant to do. It's just then that they turned around and kind of went, actually, we don't need it. We can do it a different way, because they didn't need a full streaming solution. They didn't need that whole, we need to respond to something instantly or within a very low latency, They more discovered, actually, do you know what? We can just batch this up and do it in the evening. So.
Well, I mean, streaming, it requires a bit more tech, a bit more thought, a bit more, because how are you going, because you will need to probably batch it up somehow. How are you going to read those streams? Are you going to report off those streams so you can, as they're coming in? There's a bit more to think about when you're doing that. Is it?
Yeah.
No, not Lambda architecture, but you can use a sort of a Lambda type architecture or a Kappa architecture to read the stuff coming in. But most people don't really need it, but it's certainly fun when you're watching those streams and stuff coming in.
And to be honest, it's funny how that talk evolved, because that talk evolved out of I was kind of, it sounds very nerdy to say this, but it is Geeks and Screener, right? When you're kind of bored on a Friday night, and I decided, do you know what'll be fun? It'll be fun to spin up stream analytics and work out how it works. Okay. So there I was on a Friday night. And I had this. I had the way I set up my talk is I talk about an old problem that I was approached with in 2012 from a company. All right, which basically kind of was a streaming solution, and we ended up trying to build something using integration services and IIS and reporting services. And I mean, it was a pain in the butt. All right, because basically you were loading a hell of a lot of text files. I mean, that's what it was, right? We had a web service getting in a message and it was just dumping down a text file, all right, or an XML file. And then you get an SSIS processing over that, trying to do stuff with it. And man, like that was just a pain to maintain, So then, like next in fast forward 6 years and you're looking at stream analytics and kind of going, oh, that would be a really good fit for that dead project of mine, So I ended up building up a solution, and then it was like, and then next in Bob Duffy and SQL Ireland was doing lightning talks, and I said, I'll just put together a 5-minute lightning talk on stream analytics, and then it just kind of developed from that. It became a 20-minute lightning talk for SQL bits, and then suddenly it became an hour lightning talk or an hour talk, So yeah, kind of evolution, a strange evolution that one had.
No, that's good. So how did you cover it in 5 minutes? I mean, you must have. Did you set it up, or did you just explain some of the concepts?
The core concept of a stream analytics basically explain the input, the output, the SQL statement, a brief mention about tumbling windows, a quick demo, bang, there you go. Kind of that's what it is, and a wrap up and a conclusion. But it, as you said, it's very good at doing a very specific thing. if you need that thing done, great.
Yeah. I mean, we see people going, I've got stuff coming from, I've got Kafka, and I don't know whether to put it into Databricks or whether to put into Stream Analytics. And you go, well, look,
Yeah.
there are advantages to one, there's advantages to the other, and you just got to work out what's the best fit, really.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But really, the most important ththing is it gets to a database in the background.
Yeah, and I think we can sometimes forget that, we're all used to, you're big into the Synapse side of things in there. We all like to kind of live on the cutting edge or even the bleeding edge of tech in there, right? And then you kind of forget the fact that for an awful lot of people, a database is just a database, really. They just put stuff in, stuff comes out. And in a lot of cases, they don't need to worry too much about indexes or tuning or anything like that. It just kind of ticks over and kicks away. You know what I mean?
The fun discussions that I've had is they go, we have to have a streaming solution. We have to have it. It has to do this. And you go, and then you dig into it, and you go, you only update your reports daily, right? So, right? What's the big rush? I mean, will getting it hourly be a big improvement? Yeah. No, we want to see it instantly. You go, but you are aware that it will cost X much more, and it will cost a tiny amount more to get you them every hour or 10 minutes. Oh, we like that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that was generally how my proof of concepts ended up in the whole, you can do this, but you can actually do this too.
Yeah.
Or in one case, they looked at the data and went, yeah, we don't actually want that data.
Really?
Like, okay.
Oh, customers.
We'll turn that off.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for telling us about that. We didn't realize that. We don't need that. Oh, so I'm admiring your nice Data Kaylee shirt.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
It is a particularly fine shirt. It's a good vintage. I like it.
How many Data Kaylees have there been?
So, all right. So, like Data Kaylee, I mean, you're talking about Irish events now, right? So let's go back in time when we actually just went to in-person events. Okay. So it was all SQL Saturdays. Okay. So again, Bob and Ben and Carmel, they all hosted the first few SQL Saturdays in Ireland up in Dublin. Okay. I'm sure you're probably at a few of them, Mark, all right? And then after, about 4 or 5 years ago, they approached me saying, hey, do you want to host it in Cork? So I was like, great. So we hosted Cork Cork SQL Saturday, which you were at. And then the next year, I kind of said to Bob and Ben, so what's the story? Is it going back up to Dublin? And they were like, so I was like, okay, I'll do another Cork one. All right, no problem. Ben and Bob were tired. Ben and Bob wanted a break.
Okay, right.
And they were like, Mark, you can run it. So then we had the Cork ones, all right? So we had 2 Cork ones. And then at the end of the second Cork one, then it was like, all right, look, it's time to go back to Dublin now, all right? Because, that's where the bigger audience is. It's easier for the sponsors. It's easier for the speakers. Much as I hate to admit it, it works up there, okay? So the next Data Kaylee was planned for what? 2020, all right? And then, of course, along comes the pandemic. So, yeah, like a lot of us, you're sitting in that whole February time frame with a conference in June going, well, will this thing be blown over by March? No. April? No. And then you have to call it at some point. So we called it in April, kind of going, okay, we cancelled it. And then, of course, there's a bit of a hiatus as everybody was trying to work out what do we do with this online thing and what do we do, what's going on. So in the end, we kind of put on, well, Ben started up a kind of a weekly user group session. And it was actually what it was. It was a cooperative effort between the Cork user groups and the Dublin user groups and the Galway user groups and the Belfast user groups. Right, so we all kind of cooperated, so we'd all advertise it on our various medium and media lists, but just have it, and we were calling that community cafe. We're calling that community cafe. So then, kind of out of that, we kind of go, well, we've got Data Kaylee not happening, we've got community cafe happening. Let's do a Kaylee cafe, as we called it. So our Kaylee cafe was last October, I think, and I liked that format because it was a half-day session. We just did a nice and easy 3 tracks, three speakers, a 3x3 format. Okay, and you know, I thought it was great because it's very quick to set up. You know, and it's kind of catchy and quick, and catchy and easy. So we did that last October. And then this year, then, because we were in a full pandemic for the whole year, it was like, okay, look, we'll run an online data KD. And then that was the more kind of traditional, let's run it for the full day. Well, we kept the tracks relatively limited. We had the 3 tracks, I think, this time. So 3x6, so 18 sessions. And then we packed in some lightning talks and stuff. And the lunchtime Power BI quiz as well. So yeah, it was good. But I guess we'd like to see Data Kaylee as an in-person event predominantly, okay? And it's very much hosting it online is kind of going, look, let's just do something for the Irish community. And we very much would set that up as an Irish community. And we know when you're online, you get people from anywhere and they are most welcome to attend. But I suppose it's kind of going, look, this is trying to serve that Irish kind of community audience that we have in there still, you know? So we're looking forward to it coming back in person. And, you know, we have our dates for next year. I don't think I can announce them, but we do have our dates. We do have a venue. We'll just, I guess we have to wait and see, and we'll probably take a call probably September, October timeframe to see, are we safe? But look, we assume we will be, right? You know, things are settling down, you know?
Yeah. Well, as we currently see it. But then, you know,
Yeah.
when it started, I thought, it'll blow over in a few months. And then you go,
Yeah.
well, how bad can it get? You know, we'll have 6 months of lockdown and everything will be fine. And then, you know, a year and however many months later,
I know.
it's
going to be interesting. And even like, not even just for Data Kaylee, but for in-person events in general, there is a little bit of momentum to be regained again, all right? Because there's an inertia around anything, okay? And once you get something moving, you can kind of keep it moving, okay? But once it stops, you got to start it again. And really, that means sponsors, and that means attendees. The speakers will actually be straightforward because the speaking community is amazing. There's so many people who are willing to travel, who are willing to volunteer their time. The organising of it, that's fine. But it's just getting the brass tacks, getting the money in. And I would have a little bit of a worry around that maybe, that will sponsors come on board now? Because a lot of our traditional sponsors have also gone online, okay? And they've started doing, because they have to continue trying to connect to their audiences. But now if they've decided, you know what, we're connecting to our audiences and we're doing it pretty well in an online only mode, they may kind of start revisiting the whole, well, do we need to actually sponsor this in person thing anymore? You know? So that's going to be interesting. I don't know what that answer is going to be like until we start asking, you know?
I think when I was involved in SQL Bits as a sponsor virtually, where you had a room and stuff for people to, you know, a separate room, there really wasn't a lot of activity in there because I don't know whether people didn't realize it or people didn't want to go into it. Probably people didn't realize it was there. So there wasn't a huge amount of value. So I would have thought you can see the value in a physical event because you've got, you know, you need banners, you need kit to take there. Yeah, think of all those like event companies that, you know, used to and printing companies that used to produce loads of stuff. I'm sure they'll, you know, they would be encouraging, you know, events, you know, because
absolutely
their revenue stream is gone.
Look, I mean, in our context, like Microsoft, they're still going to come on board, all right? They're still going to be sponsoring things and stuff like that. It's just, I think that the other levels going in there, I'll be just curious what will happen with that. The other side of that, however, there's always opportunity, all right? Because from having run SQL Saturday Cork, all right, it's easy to, it's absolutely half the cost of that goes on things like teas and coffees, you know, and the sandwiches and stuff like that. And and even the kind of swag element might have something kind of going on there. And you're kind of going looking at, you know, we're like, I don't mind saying, like Saturday was 15,000 to run, okay? So, you know, you're kind of going, you're trying to raise that amount of money in there. And you can probably look at half it and kind of go, do you know what? Could we really just cut half of that? Now, I know people get precious about the tea and coffee, okay? And I've said it before, like, can we cut the tea and coffee? And people are like, no, I need my tea and coffee. And we're kind of going, there's a shop, okay?
So
Okay,
you can
there's carry cups. There's polite messages asking people that we want to be more environmentally friendly, and they're saying it costs a lot of money. And would you mind bringing along your own tea and coffee, or stop off in the local Tesco or Super Value or Centra and get yourself your cup of Joe and bring it with you? You know what I mean? And I think if I received that email, I'd be like, sure, I'll bring two because I like my tea. All right, but
if it's there in advance. So I think the problem that you may have is that people expect there's a certain level of expectation. So one of the from being involved not as an organizer but just as a helper at like SQL Bits, a load of the complaints were just about the food.
Yes.
Just the quantity, the quality. Oh, I didn't like that about it. The coffee isn't that good, and but it's free.
I know, but the thing is with SQL Bits, though, the Saturday's free, but the rest of it, as an attendee, okay, the Saturday's free, but
Right.
the rest of it isn't. Okay, so there is the element of people are also paying in there. And SQL Bits, by the way, super event, very good value. Okay, I mean, but still paid for. All right.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going down the thing of like, yeah, I'd probably, if I was going to SQL Bits and they said, hey, bring your own coffee, I'll be kind of going, oh, okay. Shouldn't they provide some? Okay, but I think when you go into the full free-on event, okay, like the SQL Saturdays or the Data Saturdays or the Data KDs or any of those, you do look, when you look at the money, you kind of go, well, you know what, I'm spending $5,000 on giving out teas and coffees and biscuits.
So I think I was involved in a couple of the SQL Saturdays in Exeter, and the food is the majority of the cost, just straight out. And what was I going to say? It was quite interesting to go, what, we really spend that much on food? But there used to be this sort of business model of having a pre-con day on the Friday, and then effectively that brought in extra money to pay for the Saturday.
And look, we'll still use that absolutely in Data KD. We will have a pre-con day going on to it, and some of the money will go into paying for the Saturday. Absolutely, it's just, and if you once you get the budget in, hey, all is good. All right, all is good when you have the budget, you cover the things, and it is just a budgetary question. I guess it just comes back to the whole where we're starting with that is you have it. It may be a new challenge for us, whereas before, it wasn't really a challenge to get to the sponsors. We kind of had the relationships built up. You could approach them and they're kind of going, yeah, we're on board this year. Maybe one drops off. You'll always find another. Whereas now, if you're starting it all from, it feels like you're starting it from completely blank slate. And you're going, hi, my name is Mark, and we're running this event, and we're one sponsor, and it's just that different conversation in there,
I'd imagine there'll be a bit of a bounce, because there'll be a load of people going, oh, let's get back, let's do some events. You might get a load of sponsors, but lots of people might go, let's do a physical event, because we haven't had a physical event in ages, and you might get swamped with a lot of events right at the very beginning. And then that may be a challenge because you're stretching. I mean, in the UK, we certainly had a thing of going, we would talk to each other to make sure that we were spreading our events out, so we weren't draining the sponsors and effectively trying to ask them to sponsor every event, because it's so that
no. And look, we won't have that issue in Irish. I mean, there's basically, we'll stick with the whole kind of one big event really from the SQL community point of view, and one on that one. But for those people who want to attend Data KD, it will be back. It will be awesome.
So do you will people need passports to get over the border? Sorry. Someone's sorry.
Not from the UK. Not from the UK. Free travel area common travel area between the UK and Ireland pre-exists any other arrangements that happened in Europe. So therefore, you can come over anytime you want, buddy.
Yeah, well, that predates the thing, but isn't Northern Ireland effectively a de facto part of Europe or the common because of the trade barrier? Never mind.
Wow,
we didn't mean to go into that, did we? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Do you know what would be an easier conversation? Let's talk about quantum physics. Okay.
Let's get into religion. I think that's probably the next big topic we need. Well, let's finish religion. Oh, so
I've used Northern Ireland as an example of quantum in there because because if you're born in Northern Ireland, you have the right to dual nationality between the UK or Ireland. All right, you can identify either way, and it's a right written in there, but you don't know until you ask. All right, so it's a bit like the quantum thing, you know. You only know what value it is when you observe.
all right.
So yeah.
So
Always tread carefully with the Northern Irish question.
you've been organising Data Cayley and physical events, but then you also put together Data Weekender with a whole different set of people. So you were like cheating on your Data Cayley friends with all these new Data Weekender buddies.
I'm running off to Europe. Screw you guys.
So how did that come about?
Well, Data Weekender actually has its origins in a tweet, to be honest. All right, from my point of view, all right. I think I saw was it Kevin Kant put it up with a kind of tweet, you know, basically along the lines of thinking of organizing something online, aka SQL Saturday online only. You know, anyone interested, and a bunch of us put up our hands. All right, and the next thing we're on a Teams call the next week. And it was kind of going, okay, let's all do something. We all think it's a good idea to do something online. Great. And the next thing was we set a date that was literally 3 weeks away. you know? So I was like, okay, we're doing it then. Oh, okay, let's make it work, you know? I think maybe I argued for 1 month. I think we might have got 1 month in the end, all right? But it was like, it was frantic, all right? It was frantic. It was fun, but it was frantic. Because it was next, and was like, all right, well, what do we do? And you kind of go, well, you know, we don't have to book any place. It's all in online world. All right. And it was just grab the bits of everything. It was like, how do we manage the mailing list? Meetup. Okay. Use Meetup. So therefore, Data Weekender group appeared on Meetup. Okay. You know, how do we manage call for speakers? Sessionize, obviously. Yeah. Okay. How do we manage sponsors? Oh, wait, we don't need any sponsors. Oh, okay. Because, you know, you're running it on the line, all right? Your costs are pretty much as close to zero as you kind of get. I mean, there were some costs. We literally covered it between us, the 6 of us. I think it was 20 euros a piece or something like that to cover a couple of licenses of a few things like that. And so that was it. And it just kind of took off. It just got a bizarre momentum behind it that when we put it out there, people just seemed to like the idea. Because, of course, we did it early in the whole lockdown, so it was probably one of the earlier events. And it came very big all of a sudden in that, like, you know, suddenly we had 6 tracks on and 42 sessions, you know? And I mean, people kind of said, why don't you do 1 track? Because, you know, you want to get used to it. And like, there's 6 organizers. We'll just do 6 tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
The numbers work,
you know,
don't they? Yeah.
What can go wrong? So yeah, and funnily enough, the bit that almost I think got a little bit of energy behind it was the logo. I mean, I like our logo, all right? Our logo is a cool little logo, all right? It's a camper van. Who doesn't like a camper van, you know? So it kind of seemed to get a little bit of momentum even from that. People kind of go, oh, cool logo.
Yeah.
What are you doing, you know? So yeah, it went on, and it was mad, and it was frantic. And we were really happy with the amount of people turned up. I think we got around 600 people at the first one, you know, which was good. And some of the speakers we got were great. I mean, we got some great speakers. I mean, we had some of the big boys in there. I don't want to call out any names because that's unfair on all the speakers, but there were some speakers in there who were like, wow, they're a big name, you know, they're well known, and also plenty of opportunity for lots of other speakers in there as well. And I think as a speaker, as an organizer, so as an organizer, I want to organize something that will ideally have at least 20 people in the room. Okay. I just feel it's kind of going, it's a nice number. And you know what, after that, then it doesn't matter. If it's 200, if it's 20, there's people in there. And that we hit that, yeah. When you got 600 people online, every session had past 20. I mean, several sessions had past 100 people in it, but every session had at least 20. And I've never seen a speaker complain when there's been at least, say, that number in the room, because I think they feel then that they're making contact with people. They're out there, they're talking to people.
Well,
so yeah, that's
yeah, but you're also up against 5 other speakers, so you are sharing an audience as well. So it's...
yeah. And I think this is probably the challenge in there with any event, all right? But with the online event is because there is a bit of online fatigue going on, all right? But I don't think it's actually online fatigue. There's online difference, all right? What I've noticed between the first weekender and the third weekender is still getting a lot of people attending. In fact, we got more people at our third data weekender than the first two, yet we're in peak fatigue, okay? So I think we had 747 people, because I had a more accurate count, because I worked out how to use Teams downloads and get the attendees, all right?
Yeah. Thank you for
that. No problem. So we got a more accurate count. So I was kind of going, wow, we got 740 some people. I mean, that's pretty awesome. What the fatigue side of things, I think, is that people are attending less sessions. I think in the first data weekender, people were kind of almost treating it like a conference, where you kind of go along for the day and you watch all the sessions, okay? Whereas the third one, it was like lots of people watched one session, and that was it. So they obviously scanned the thing and went, yeah, 10 to 11 o'clock Saturday morning, great, I'm going to watch Mark chat about Synapse Analytics. And that's it, they're done for the day, So I think, so that's obviously a huge attraction, and I think it's actually recognizing that with online events is that's a very legitimate way to market it. So even in communications within there now, I wouldn't dream of trying to convince a person to attend an online conference all day long. I was like, they're not going to. But I only want them to attend one session, because then they're there. It's legit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so Data Weekender 3 was good. We had a little bit less at peak than other sessions, but we had more people in totality. So I think the story there is people are still going, but they're going to fewer sessions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got to market it hard. Okay, you got to market it hard. And I'm going to touch upon Data Saturdays now, okay? Because, SQL Saturdays died, Kaz died. SQL Saturday was a great brand, all right? And it had an engine behind it as well, all right? It had an engine going in there. Say what you want about parts of that engine. The SQL Saturday engine was what I thought was good, all right? And they had that whole element of there was always a bit of marketing in there. People were aware of the brand. And, as a speaker, you get an automatic notification whenever a SQL Saturday was launched, and there was loads around there. So that's that whole bit of movement going on. Whereas with the data starting up, I think one of the challenges they have on it is kind of getting that inertia momentum going again, all right? That it's recognized and it's rolling. And for Data Weekender, we've probably kind of got good at it now, that we're getting good at making a lot of noise about it in a relatively short period of time, getting it out there, hitting Twitter hard, hitting LinkedIn hard, hitting the mailing list hard. And, I suppose getting less apologetic about the whole, I don't know, am I bothering people too much and whatever lies. Actually, you don't really. You just got to keep telling, you got to keep telling, and that's how you sell it. That's how people come along. But yeah, I enjoy running them. They're good. They're good to run.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the people that is not necessarily has the biggest profile, but you're there facilitating and make sure the conferences happen. So that's...
Yeah, look, I mean, I like to see it. I kind of try to fulfill a dual role, all right? And because I enjoy organizing events, all right? Actually, if you go back to college, all right, in college, I'd have been seen as a serial organizer. I fought 25 years ago in here. But look at this. I'm going to completely diversify. I have to show you this.
No, of course.
Talking about college. See what that is?
The old college bar. So it's really bit. All I can see is my own reflection in the camera.
It's a bit of a floorboard.
Okay, all right. I was...
Okay. So back in college, so I went to University College Cork, right? And there was the college bar. No, it became known as the old college bar because they opened up a second college bar. So that was the old college bar, all right? And now the old college bar is closed down. It's been closed down for 5 or 6 years, all right? So one of the guys inside in UCC had this genius idea of kind of going, he went in there one night, checking it out, and he saw some floorboards ripped up. And he took one home for his office, all right? And someone asked, what's that? Oh, it's a floorboard from the college bar. Can I have one? Okay.
Okay.
And so I had this idea. He says, people seem to be interested in these floorboards, all right? So he made 400 of those, okay? 400 of those, sell them at 40 euros a piece, okay? So that's 16,000 euros raised for charity. It's actually going into renovating the bar, and they're turning it into a sensory room, so sensory and a quiet zone, you know, for students with needs and stuff like that. So we're all delighted to support it in there, you know. So sorry, that was a relapse onto completely random thought, but it was the college connection of in college I'd have been seen as an organizer of stuff. I just liked organizing things. So the last 4 or 5 years for me has kind of almost been, oh yeah, I really like organizing things, so I'll just do that. Conversely, I like to do talks as well. But yeah, you're right, from a profile point of view, I'm not trying to get a huge profile out there. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. You know, there is the whole I'm self-employed, so I mean, it is my de facto marketing budget. All right, it's kind of going, yeah, it's the way I learn in there. It's fine, it's enjoyable, and you know, we get whoever comes along, you know. So, but yeah, it's the organizing's good.
I was going to ask you about something, and I completely forgot that we didn't. Right, so we didn't. We're going to do the normal Geeks on Screen stuff that I completely forgot. So we're near the end. So just so you know, but we've got to sync sound and vision eventually, yeah. And your name, and then I was going to mention. So I don't know, you can. So that's for you.
Yay!
So we can, and then that's for the audience, right? I was going to mention, how come you're Mark Data Guy, right? You can't be the only Mark Data Guy. There are other Mark Data Guys around. You've stolen that from every other Mark.
Well, you know, you didn't claim it on Twitter, so suck it up.
Nicely done.
Yeah, it's funny because you know you do these things of like, oh, I need a Twitter handle. What might Twitter handle be? I really could think of nothing other than my name's Mark and I kind of work with data. Mark Data Guy, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, mine's not imaginative at all, and I haven't asked this question for a very long time because I've had a few people back. What is your favourite cheese?
Oh. No, interesting. I used to make cheese.
Shut the front door. Go on. Tell me about that.
So this is a fado story now, all right? So yeah, my years ago, I'm from a farm, all right? I'm from a farm. My brother's the farmer now, okay? But I'm a farmer's son. So years ago, my mother, who has passed away a long time ago, she decided that she would basically take up cheese making. Okay, so you know, we were a dairy farm, so you're making milk, basically, all right? So obviously, what have you got to hand? You've got a shitload of milk, okay? So what else can you do with milk? Well, we can make cheese. Well, why don't we make the cheese? So yeah, so my mother did a cheese making course years ago. I mean, you're talking now 30, 35 years ago, all right? She did make a cheese making course, and she bought the kit and set it up, and my father built a couple of rooms, and we had all the vats and stuff like that. And then I stuck my head in, probably age 10, 8, 9, 10, whatever it was, kind of going, what do I do, Mom? Make cheese. Okay, let's make cheese. So we had big vats of cheese, you know, big vats, and you'd be stirring it, and you're doing the whole, you're putting in the stuff, so you're reducing it down to the curd and the whey, and then you're separating it off, so to get to the curd, and then you're pressing it, and then you're storing it and shaping it. So we used to make it. So we had this room at home, big enough room, you know, I don't know, whatever, like 12 by 12, whatever that is. Okay, big enough room, lined with shelves like these behind me, full of cheese. just full of cheese. All right. So yeah, I fond memories of actually making the cheese there, you know. Um, in terms of what's my favorite cheese, you know, it's not going to be anything fancy or adventurous. It's either a nice straightforward brie, all right, or it's a nice, strong, mature cheddar. Simple, simple as that, really, you know. They're the two I would use a lot. So they're the kind of ones I'd stick with, you know.
So I hope you don't mind me digging in. But so, what kind of cheeses did you make? A hard cheese then, when you were younger, or was it?
It was kind of like it would have been kind of like a kind of like a Dutch Edam.
All right, okay,
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of what we went for in the end, you know. It unfortunately never got the market, all right, just literally due to my mother passed away a long time ago, right? So it never got the market, but yeah, no, it was a Dutch Edam basically, an Irish Dutch Edam, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, an Irish Edam, because it's but
Yeah,
that's cool. Hey, you're the first person I've had
yeah.
that's made cheese. I presume you did all
Well,
the rennet and the
oh yeah,
yeah,
you're putting on the rind on it and the wax in
yeah.
it and everything like that. We had labels and everything, you know what I mean? It was like, and like you'd have these big blocks of it. Like, I mean, have I got anything to give you a size of it? Like, we'd have, you know, imagine something like that size
Yeah.
but round, you know, big blocks of it, sitting in there, the weighing like 2 or 3 kgs and stuff like that. Like, and we'd have small ones and everything, but as I said, it just never got the market onto it. But it took us about 2 years to eat it all as well. Yeah.
I was going to ask. You must have hated that cheese in the end.
Well, you're from a farm, right? So you get to silage season, as we call it, when you're cutting the grass, and you'd have like 8 or 10 hungry men inside in the house
Uh,
trying to feed them in there. So we ate a lot of cheese and toast.
oh, I mean that's still a favourite in our house. Cheese on well, not for me, but for my wife and kids, they love a good bit of cheese on toast.
With a little bit of Worcester sauce on top of it.
Uh, no, they're a bit vanilla when it comes to that. It would be just plain cheese on toast, but
Right.
they prefer it if I cook it because I'll slowly cook the cheese. I won't, and then you don't cook it too hot.
And will you make sure the edges are kind of covered as well? Because you want the cheese kind of bubbly and stuff like that, but you got to watch that you don't burn the bread at the edge.
So you need a pretty even layer of cheese, and then if it was for my daughter, I would
Yeah.
even cut the crusts off so it would be even. It would look even better. But if I was
Ah,
if I was having it, I don't know how I work this out, but if you put some Marmite on the bread and then you put the cheese on it and then melt it, it is. I mean, that's like, yeah, similar to the Worcestershire sauce on it. It just adds that
right.
little
Yeah, I
tang.
could see it. Yeah, yeah, I could see that kind of working. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool.
But yeah, sorry.
So there you go. That was more detail on cheese than you were expecting.
No, but it's one of those surprise questions. You go, oh, okay, oh, I didn't know that. If ever I have a cheese question about making my own cheese, I didn't even ask. I just assumed it was cow cheese rather than goat cheese or, and that
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
can make cheese
yeah.
of any animal that lactates essentially.
You can make cheese off anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been cow cheese. Yeah, non-pasteurized, kind of the pure raw milk ingredient
Oh,
going in there.
okay.
Yes.
God, that must have been an interesting time growing up on a dairy farm.
Yeah, I mean, look, growing up on a farm is interesting anytime, really. Yeah, it's different now. I mean, it's so mechanic. There's so much there's so much automation going on there now. I mean, we talk about all automation and IT, right, and how we should automate our processes and stuff like that in there. I mean, like farming, they've been automating things for years, you know. So, I mean, historically, if you're to go back to pre-industrial revolution, farmers were the primary source of income for an awful lot of people in there, where you could have had like whole families employed in the farm, and now you could have one person running the whole place with one tractor. It's just the right kit, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting, but yeah, it's diverse.
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching Jeremy's farm, and it's just interesting. I mean, from a even because we live in the country, and those tracks that run up and down the field.
Mm.
Whatever you say about the program, I learned why they're there and why they're that distance apart, and it's to do with the arms on the on the chemical, on the thing that's either feeding them or putting out the chemicals, the pesticides,
The sprayer, yeah.
the sprayer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's to do with the length of the sprayer arms. And I was like, never mind. I mean, we could go into that because I was looking at an aerial view of the fields next to us, and you can just see them going up and down and around trees. Sorry. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a final question. Well, we'll do a question from the Richard Herring emergency question book,
Okay.
which everybody gets. So pick a number between 1 and 1001, and you get the question.
We'll go for 777.
I think someone's had 777, but we'll see what that is. I never show people what it is, so I could always lie. 777.
Yeah, you just got 10 questions in there. You open up the same page.
Oh yeah, no, we did. Yeah, no, there really are like different questions. I bought this book. It wasn't very expensive.
Funny.
Okay, so this might be interesting. Do you have a family Christmas tradition that you considered normal, but now you've realised was a bit strange?
Oh, gosh, no. A family Christmas tradition.
Well, anything around Christmas that you did, like opening your presents like on Christmas morning or after church on Christmas Day, or
I think to be honest, unfortunately, not going to be as interesting as a cheese answer. I think, all right. I think the only thing I can think of in there was, yeah, we used to open it. Well, what we used to do, and I suppose it's weird now looking back at it, right? But I mean, we used to go to midnight mass, all right, because Catholic Ireland, etc. I'm atheist now, but that's a side point. So you went to midnight mass,
yeah,
and like you come home at and it was at midnight.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, whereas now midnight mass is 7 o'clock in the evening. Okay. So you go to midnight mass, come home. So you're coming home.
Midnight mass. What? That's not midnight mass if it's at 7 in the evening.
Yeah, but we still call it the midnight mass because we don't like learning new names, so we just use the old one.
Oh, all right. Okay. I remember going to midnight mass at midnight because that was the whole point of it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. When we were kids, that was the time, midnight mass. So yeah, we go to midnight mass, and then we come home, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, we'd be opening up Christmas presents. All right, and you're like kind of going, that wasn't normal. It's like a bunch of kids at 1 o'clock in the morning going, yay. So yeah, that's what we did. I then discovered that apparently a lot of other families apparently did it the next day when they woke up. So
yeah, that's what we would do. I think we'd be so tired at midnight mass. All that sort of energy or nervous energy you have for Christmas would then, you still be up at 5 or 6 in the morning, clearly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, we were ripping them open, hey! And then, all right, apparently you should do this in the mornings. Oops, sorry. Although funny enough, now myself and my wife now have actually, because my wife, they used to open up the presents in the morning, and now when we're doing gifts ourselves, we actually open up the night before. So it's kind of stayed a kind of tradition to kind of go, okay, we open the presents the night before for the adults. The kids obviously open it up in the morning when the big fella has arrived. Okay, because I mean we know he doesn't arrive until the middle of the night. But yeah, the adult presents we can open up the night before.
That sounds terrible. That's such a double standard. I hope your children are revolting at that kind of double standards at Christmas.
Well, they can open up their presents from us the night before, and then the big man's presents.
Oh, I see. Oh, I get that. I guess. All right, that makes a bit more sense. If we said we could open our presents the day before, but you can't have your presents, there would be a riot.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
ISPCA be on our cases there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think we would be the ones going to hospital for the bruises and the hit. The beating we would get.
No.
All right.
To qualify that before anyone thinks I'm a bad parent, we can all open up our presents the night before, except the big hands.
I much prefer the idea of you overloading it, slowly unwrapping your presents, teasing your children as they're sitting there going, "Can we open ours yet?" "No, tomorrow." Oh, genius. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Mark. It's been great catching up with you and seeing you for the first time. And thank you for those hints about Teams and downloading kind of the attendance record. That was really useful. That the report you get is amazing.
Well, that's Ben actually. That's Ben Watt's report. So the credit to him for that.
Oh, okay. We certainly use that quite a lot, and that's how we were
Cool.
marketing the first event. Look at all the people. Look at that graph. Lovely pictures. All right. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everyone watching.
Mark.
And we'll do a big showbiz goodbye.